Delighted to say that Ruth Fahy is with us on the line this morning. Good morning to you, Ruth.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Very well, thanks. We're going to get into the World Cup in just a moment, but just to get your brief thoughts on that, first of all, Shane Duffy, happy with the 10 points. Obviously, if you look at things on a black and white level, we would have taken 10 points at the start, but serious warning signs from the performance last night.
Yeah, it was worrying, and I'm going to have to be completely honest here. I was switching over to Canada-Cameroon, the Women's World Cup, in between. There were moments where the game was pretty tough to watch, and I had to switch over purely for work purposes, I'm going to say. But yeah, worrying signs, but what's new, guys? You know what I mean? We're having the same conversation over and over again. But look, 4 points, we'll take it for now.
Did you see this coming when Mick McCarthy was appointed?
Yeah, I foresaw some struggles, to be fair. You're not just going to transition from the O'Neill era, just streamlining into this, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I foresaw a bit of struggle. Absolutely no surprises, to be honest. But again, 4 points for the first two games, can't be too dissatisfied with that.
What's your take on the whole Matt Doherty situation? The fact that we clearly aren't getting our best players on the pitch. Is it a situation that he should have persevered with him after the opening game in Gibraltar?
Personally, I just love Matt Doherty. I love the way he plays. Such an exciting winger. It's so difficult to have had a season that Doherty has had in 2018, 2019 and not play. I think he needs to play. For me, he has to play. Obviously, the argument against it with Coleman, as he is, but yeah, I'm good at not seeing him play. I'd love to see him on the pitch in some shape or form.
Is it as a right midfielder? Is it potentially to give him a crack at right back, or what way do you see it?
I'd give him a crack at right back, to be honest. Because just the way he plays, and I know the arguments are all there and they're all valid for Coleman, but give Doherty a chance. Just give him a chance. Give him one go at right back and see what he can do. It
seemed that last night would have been the perfect opportunity almost to do that.
If you're going to play Gibraltar at home, I think that is the ideal opportunity to do it. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm sure I'm echoing sentiments of lots of others there in that sense too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the World Cup. Tonight, the United States in action for the first time. They're up against Thailand, and immediately you look at this, you look at the defending champions, you look at the great chances they must have, but you start to look at what happened to them in the Olympics, Ruth, and I'm not sure about you, but I'm starting to see a few chinks in the armour here. Obviously still an outstanding team, but I wonder, has that doubt started to seep into the squad?
You know, it's funny because coming into this World Cup compared to previous World Cups, States have a whole different kind of mind frame and mindset at the moment. If you listen to all the discussion around the team, the build up to it, the analysis behind it, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of negativity, whereas previously they would have gone into this as kind of storming champions, strong favourites. But I think this is the first time that they're really not the strong favourites. I wouldn't even put them at the top. I think we saw what France did last Friday. Outstanding. And the thing is, the USA probably have the ideal scenario here. They're facing Thailand. People are expecting 4, 5, 6-0 at this stage, but there's certainly chinks in the armour there. I don't think that'll be tested tonight, unfortunately, but I think we'll see it in the next game.
What are those weaknesses in your view?
Well, to be honest, the absence of Hope Solo is huge. If you listen to the dialogue and the narrative around the analysis in America at the moment, they're all very wary. They think there's a lack of leadership, a lack of communication. That's always going to happen when you lose someone like Hope Solo. But you can't look beyond the star panel that they have. And again, we're just not going to see those questions tonight, unfortunately. But like I said, USA, there's a chance that they're going to come up against France in the quarters if all things go as predicted. So we might actually see an early exit for the holding champions this time.
Right, okay, that's interesting. France, obviously very impressive on Friday night. They have the bulk of that team from Lyon who've won the Champions League so many times. Is that really the genesis of this team? Is there something else that we should be looking at here from this France team? Or is it basically that Lyon team has allowed them to build that confidence, that strength, that they can basically look at any other team in the competition and say, we're better than you?
Yeah, the thing is, you actually don't need to look much further than that Lyon spine between the likes of Wendy Renard, Eugenie Le Sommer and I was about to say Thierry, Amandine Henry, of the centre. They're outrageous, and in addition to that they have Delphine Cascarino and Majri at left full, so they literally have about 6 or 7 Lyon starters in there. You don't need much more than that at the moment. They were outstanding again against an inferior side with South Korea, but they're coming up against Norway tomorrow evening, and that's going to be their true test. We saw Norway against Nigeria last Saturday. Norway weren't really tested, but at the same time they did not look like they had the star quality that France had. And I think I backed France at the start. Again, South Korea, not the greatest test, but I reckon France could get to the quarters. They could beat USA and go all the way. They've got everything that they need in their armour this year for sure.
That France-Norway game is going to be fascinating. We may as well chat about that now. And the idea of a nation holding the World Cup in both the men's and women's tournament, obviously it's never been done before. Is there any sense that this is actually going to put added pressure on this French team? Because it seemed from their performance on Friday night that it's water off a duck's back in terms of being the hosts.
It's funny, I was listening to a similar conversation yesterday. There's a huge amount of pressure on them, but they don't seem to be playing like that. They've been coming up to this World Cup, like with that in their mind. They knew about the pressure, but they're looking to thrive on those crowds. They've got sold out stadiums all across this tournament. They didn't look like they were under any pressure last Friday. They were thriving on it. I don't know if you got to see it. Did you see the 2 goals from Wendy Renard? Absolutely incredible. And they could have had more. It could have been 6 or 7. It could be a really magical time. Imagine French men, French women, 2 World Cup holders. That would be something to talk about for sure.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that the support does really seem to be there for the women's team in the country, in around the stadiums, like packed out stadiums, as you say, for the home side. This is a movement happening behind not just the men's team a couple of years ago, or last year, I should say, but this team as well.
Yeah, and I think that filters up even from club level, because Lyon have so much support, closely rivaled by PSG in France, like have the money there. There's a lot of really positive media around them. Like we hear it here from Ireland. So imagine being in France, and then when that happens, like the respect goes up and they talk about it more in such positive light. So like it filters up, and when it comes to the international stage, then you see the quality shine through, and you see the support around the stadiums, and like the more they progress and the better they get in the tournament as well, the more the hype is going to increase and increase. I'm not going to eat my words now, and they're going to be absolutely atrocious against Norway, but like there's no reason why they shouldn't win. I thought Norway were relatively poor against Nigeria. Didn't create much, easily won, had the game wrapped up at half-time, so they weren't really tested either. But I think France will want to go on and set their mark now against Norway, who are ranked 12 in the world, but probably one of the favourites in the tournament, given that there are about 6 or 7 at the moment.
Yeah, like it's going to be a fascinating matchup, as I say, but you talk about external factors having an impact on a team, which of course is happening with France being the hosts and all that, but you talk about external factors, and Norway are affected, I would argue, way more by not only the absence of Ada Hegerberg, but also the conversation around it, the conversation about perhaps if she has decided to not play for the team, why have the rest of the players decided to play for the team? I do wonder if that creates a small bit of doubt in the players' minds, or a bit of conflict, or I'm not sure how you view it, Ruth.
Well, I'm sure for them, they definitely have the ability to shut that out for now, but I'm not sure if you've heard, there's been a lot of conversation about this in the last 2 or 3 days. A lot of high-profile Norwegian stars have come out and actually slammed Hegerberg for continuing to talk about this. And what the issue is that they're claiming it's not clear why she's walked away. They're saying, look, come out and say what it is. She cited like a lot of kind of general factors, all extremely valid, but she hasn't said, look, this is what happened. This is what needs to be done. It hasn't been clear, and they're slamming her for this. And a lot of people are saying, and it's a fair point, like I think maybe people need to stop talking about it. Like the World Cup has started, Norway have launched their campaign, they've got their first win, they've got an absolutely massive game on Wednesday, and maybe the whole conversation with Hegerberg should just be shut down. Like I just don't think you'd do that. Can you imagine if Messi or Ronaldo wasn't at the Men's World Cup? It's not something that you're ever going to stop talking about throughout the campaign. I think it would be better just to focus on the games, focus on who they do have, because they've got some cracking players like the Hansen, Herlofsen. They've already shown that they've stepped up since Euro 2017, where they got absolutely annihilated, by the way, didn't score a single goal and were knocked out of the group stages, and that's what kicked off the Hegerberg departure, I suppose. So yeah, I'm sure back in Norway there's an awful lot of discussion about it, probably very split, similar to our own Clean Saipan saga back when it was. So like, for me, I'd like just to focus on the games now. Hegerberg's not coming back to the campaign, but maybe afterwards wrap it up and see, can we get her back in the team, get her back on the international stage where she should be.
What about England? We read the English papers every morning here, and there's been as much hype around this team and as the men's team, really, and so that can only bring its own incredible pressure. And they were a little bit disappointing, kind of underwhelming in their opening game against Scotland.
Fair to say. I think they're underwhelming in the second half. In the first half, they were outstanding, and they looked like they were going to live up to all the hype that had been built up around them. Lucy Bronze and Nikita Paris on the right hand side were exceptional. Nikita Paris, any kind of English/Irish women's football fan will be familiar with her. She's top player in the WSL, but she just looked like on fire in the first opening 45. And then I'm not sure what happened. England kind of fell apart slightly. Scotland came back into the game in the second half. And it's funny, and as the match concluded, England won in the end 2-1, but a lot of the media was really negative around England, just kind of very familiar. They've been built up so much, hadn't performed over the 90 minutes, but they've got an awful lot of depth in their squad. I wouldn't worry too much. Scotland could have been the biggest hurdle for them, just because they know each other so well, and it could have gone another way. Scotland had a couple of chances to equalise in the latter stages of the second half, but England still a top side, still one of the favourites, and they showed in the first 45 minutes that they are lethal. And again, they haven't even kind of exploited the depth in their squad whatsoever.
Right, that's interesting, because I was listening to, like as you said, there's a lot written about this English performance and the underperformance, I think it's fair to say, on Sunday. Like, you listen to Phil Neville and he's saying, we expect to be in the latter stages of this tournament. So there's no delusion there, is there? That there's no sort of idea here that Phil Neville perhaps overrates his team a tad, because as you say, you can pick out a handful of teams that are potentially better than this England side.
Yeah, I know. I actually, for once, to be honest, I don't think there's much delusion. I think they have a really experienced squad at this stage. Like, they got to the semi-finals, 4 years ago. They were really narrowly beaten by Japan and own goal in the dying moments of the game. Like, they're right up there with the top in the world. It's not an exaggeration. It's not an over media hype around it. They've got literally some of the best players in the world, possibly one of the best, with Lucy Bronze at right full. And like I mentioned, Nikita Paris, Fran Kirby, Georgia Stanway, Ellen White. Like, they're peppered with world stars, so it's not an over-exaggeration. They could really go on and get to the final. Again, they have improvement to make, but that's tournament football. Like, it's not going to go your way straight away. And although they're in the group of death, as I think they termed it that themselves, Argentina and Japan are in the group with them. Argentina and Japan didn't look on any crazy level last night as a 0-0 draw in the end. And if Argentina can take points off Japan, England can certainly go on and beat them. And they beat them 3-0 earlier this year in She Believes Cup. So no, I would expect England to go far. Semi-finals at least. You never know, could get to a final too.
What's your view on who's going to win this thing, Ruth? Because by the way you're talking there, it does seem that you could pick out a few here that could go all the way and win this. There isn't somebody who's head and shoulders above the rest. Like, how big has the Hegerberg thing been in informing that view, I wonder? Would Norway be kind of close to front runners here? Because obviously the French and the USA might have something to say about that.
Norway, take away the Hegerberg thing, Norway is still right up there. They topped their qualifying campaign. They actually beat the Dutch. A lot of people would question the Dutch. Norway beat them, and the Netherlands had to qualify against Switzerland in the playoff. For me, like, you can't look too far past France. I would have said that even before the game last Friday, just because they've won it now at this stage 14 of their last 15 games. They're coming into this off the back of a really strong domestic club season. They've got the crowd support behind them. They are the hosts. Things all seem to be kind of turning their direction, and they're just they're just class as well. Like, you just can't overlook that. But it's not. This isn't kind of an over-exaggeration. Like, there are literally 5 or 6 teams that will win this, and that's why this tournament is obviously unique in terms of the coverage this time, but unique in terms of the quality and the spread of quality as well. So we're talking like literally England, France. We got Norway, Brazil are outside dark horses. Australia got beaten by Italy last weekend. Can't count them out either. Obviously, Germany, USA, like, I could literally put 5 or 6 teams as favourites. But again, I'm still going to put my hat on France. I just think they look a world apart, but we'll know a lot more after tomorrow evening when they face Norway.
Yeah, we sure will.
They're going to come out on top of that.
That's going to be a cracker. But United States against Thailand is probably the game to be. Like, if the States put in a big performance tonight, say if it's 3-4, 5-0, is there a situation then where it becomes a momentum builder and States could become your front runners?
Well, see, I'll wait until they come across France. Again, yeah, I reckon they'll put a couple of goals past Thailand this evening. I might kind of quieten the negative media around them at the moment. But I'll wait till they're truly tested. I think quarterfinals will be the case where they're tested.
Yeah, that's very true. Ruth Fahy, thanks a million for taking the call.
Thanks, guys.